Inside your dog's brain, a fascinating biological mechanism is running right now. A silent, continuous assessment on every single human they meet. Over the next 8 minutes, we will break down the real science from Kyoto and Vienna that illustrates how your dog acts as a highly perceptive, behavioral observer.
Hey everyone, Milo here, and today we are diving straight into those exact data points.
You will learn the 3 distinct scanning channels dogs use to read human intent, how they track reliability in their social circle, and why an otherwise friendly dog might suddenly hesitate around a specific person long before you notice anything unusual. If you want to truly understand your pet's subtle behavioral shifts, you need to understand the data points they track every single day. Most people think their dog relies on a mystical sixth sense. It's easy to believe they read auras, possess psychic powers, or sense the energy of every stranger who walks through your door. But the biological reality is far more impressive and deeply sophisticated. In the first few seconds of a stranger entering your home, before you even finish saying your first hello, your dog's brain is already processing behavioral data. They are not making a moral judgment. They are evaluating predictability and safety. In the evolutionary history of canine survival, reading the intent of an unfamiliar individual was a necessary skill. Let's look at the documented research. In Kyoto, Japan, a team tested canine trust using 34 dogs. A researcher pointed at one of 2 containers. The dog followed the gesture and found food. In the second round, the same researcher pointed to the other container. The dog ran over and found nothing. The cue had been misleading. Then came round 3. The same researcher pointed again, but this time the container actually held food. Still, most dogs refused to follow. A single misleading interaction had lowered that person's reliability rating. This led scientists to ask a deeper question. What happens if we introduce a completely new stranger into the room? Would the dogs distrust everyone, or was it specific to that one individual? To answer that, we need to look at the 3 scanning channels running inside your dog's brain every time they meet a new person. To understand how this works, we have to look at the first moments of a human interaction. This is where the baseline is set. Your dog isn't reading minds. They are observing through 3 distinct channels at once. Channel 1, the geometry of motion. Your dog doesn't just look at a stranger's face. They look at the posture of the entire body. They track weight shifts, hand tension, and the pace of movement. Unpredictable motion registers as caution. Channel 2, the chemical weather. While you are exchanging polite pleasantries, your dog's olfactory system is processing chemical data from the air. Fear, stress, or nervousness trigger physiological shifts that release volatile compounds. Your dog reads tension in real time. Channel 3, the social mirror. Your dog notices your behavior, your breathing, your tension, your movement. If you tense up around a specific person, your dog often mirrors that response. It is a system of social evaluation. This brings us to one of the most fascinating discoveries in canine cognition. Dogs appear capable of tracking reliability across repeated interactions and adjusting their behavior accordingly. When Akiko Takaoka analyzed the Kyoto container experiment, she found that the dogs adjusted quickly. When the researchers introduced a new person, the dogs followed that stranger immediately. They had not lost faith in human gestures overall. They had simply filed a note about one individual and adjusted accordingly. Dogs do not operate on abstract ideas of right and wrong. They look for predictability. When a human behaves inconsistently, it disrupts the environment. The dog is choosing the most logical path to a reward. But what happens if a person acts uncooperatively toward you, their owner? This is where things become surprisingly personal. Because the next experiment suggests your dog may be paying attention, not just to how people treat them, but to how people treat you. Will your dog notice? Science suggests they will. In another Kyoto University study, researcher Hitomi Chijiwa tested canine social awareness. A dog watched as their owner struggled with a sealed container and asked a nearby stranger for help. In one scenario, the stranger helped. In another, the stranger refused. A third person remained neutral. Afterward, both the unhelpful stranger and the neutral person offered the dog the same treat. When the stranger had been helpful, the dog showed no preference. But when the stranger had refused to help their owner, the dog often ignored that person and took the treat from the neutral stranger instead. The dog was responding to social behavior, not personal benefit. Scientists call this third-party affective evaluation, and it shows that dogs are sensitive to non-cooperative behavior. In a social pack environment, tracking who cooperates and who doesn't is a practical survival skill. We are entering territory that highlights the depth of animal intelligence. It is one thing for an animal to track physical unhelpfulness, but can a dog process human perspective and intent? A team at the University of Vienna set up an experiment with 260 dogs. A treat was placed in bucket A. Then a second person switched it to bucket B. In one condition, the first human stayed in the room and watched the switch happen. They then pointed to the old, empty bucket. In the other condition, the human left the room and did not know where the treat had gone. They returned and pointed to the empty bucket. To the eye, the gesture was the same, but the results were striking. When the person had witnessed the switch, the dogs often ignored the gesture. When the person had not seen it, the dogs were much more likely to follow the point. They responded to context, not just motion. Working breeds like border collies and retrievers often read these cues quickly. Terriers, bred for more independent work, may focus more on the action itself. That is not a lack of intelligence. It is breed history shaping behavior. How do you translate this into daily life? First, understand the baseline. If your dog trusts strangers easily, that does not mean they are naive. It may simply mean their environment feels safe. Second, notice the sudden shift. If your normally friendly dog hesitates around a specific person, steps back, or lowers their tail, pay attention. That is often a meaningful signal. Third, calibrate for the breed. Independent dogs may investigate more directly. They are not missing the signals, they are built differently. Now, let's look at the balanced reality. Your dog is not a universal private investigator. In a study of canine social choices, dogs watched strangers act selfishly or generously with food toward another unfamiliar dog. The result was indifference. The test dog showed no preference against the selfish actor. Your dog does not spend energy evaluating random strangers who have no effect on their world. Their behavioral radar activates most strongly when the social situation affects you or their immediate resources. Over thousands of years of living beside us, dogs have become skilled at reading human behavior. They are uniquely tuned to our social structure. The next time your peaceful dog hesitates in front of a stranger, shifts their weight, or refuses to step forward, do not dismiss it. They may simply be noticing patterns that your brain filtered out. Not because they possess a supernatural gift, but because, for thousands of years, evolution has trained them to pay attention to the people around them.